I'll have to go back and check. I'll have to go back and check the archives. I'll have to do like a deep dive, but I don't recall Rush Limbaugh ever calling Sean Hannity the C word. I just have to. It may have happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Listen, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying that Rush Limbaugh didn't go on one day and call Sean Hannity the see you next Tuesday. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't remember it happening. And if it did happen, it clearly wasn't as well publicized as what's going on with Tim Pool and Candace Owens. And Tim Pool, man, I don't know if you heard this the other day, but Tim Pool, somebody shot at his place. I meant to mention it yesterday, and I totally did not. That's my bad. But he has a I don't want to give out the. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to give out the whereabouts of the Tim Pool facility. A lot of people know where it is, but I got there one time and I barely found it. I thought it was a secure location because it's literally in the middle of nowhere. It was dark. There's all these windy roads. There's no lights. There's security like you wouldn't believe. But sometime over the weekend, somebody drove by and shot at Tim Pool's complex. And it is a large complex. I think it's bigger than it was when I was. I've been there one time. I've been there one time. I'll tell you all about that here in just a minute. But Tim Pool, not a happy camper. As many right-wing, conservative moderators, they're not happy these days. And there is a growing war. And most of it is caused by Candace Owens. Candace Owens is probably I'll be honest with you. If you look around and you look at a divide in the Republican Party, if you look at some kind of MAGA, breaking point, if you look at two people who maybe at one point were okay with each other, or everybody we thought was on the same side, but now they're not all on the same side. If we feel that way, odds are it all points back to Candace Owens. And I don't know when this happened. I used to listen to Candace Owens. I thought she was cool back when she was on the Daily Wire. And this woman that used to work with me would listen to her constantly. And it was kind of annoying because I'd go into the office and, I did a podcast at the time, and I'd go into the office and this woman I used to work with would be listening to Candace Owens. And I would say, woman I used to work with, why are you listening to Candace Owens? She goes, oh my God, I love her. But nowadays, I don't know. Maybe not so much. Candace Owens has been stoking the flames of division between young MAGA conservative reporters since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And every single day there seems to be more and more zaniness coming out of Candace Owens' mouth and into her microphone. And at the same time, her ratings skyrocket. I don't know. I'll say a lot of things to get clicks. I'll write a lot of salacious headlines. I'm not against clickbait. I'll wear hats, I'll wear clothes, I'll say this or that or whatever, because if you can't get somebody to watch, then you can't keep them informed. If you're not clicking on this video, then you're not going to get the truth. You're not going to get the information. You're not going to get the inspiration you need to keep fighting against the lunatics on the left. So clickbait does have its place and time. But man, once you get the click, you gotta rein it in a little bit. Not Candace Owens. She's going full throttle the other way. And Tim Pool literally just went off on her. In fact, I tried my best to bleep it all. It was a lot of bleeping. And I'm still a one-man show here, but I think I got most of it. This was Tim Pool yesterday after the attack on his home, where his home and his office complex in West Virginia were shot at by somebody. I'm not sure if they ever caught him, but he was not happy with Candace Owens and what she's been saying about him and others recently.
Candace Owens is a evil scumbag. She is a degenerate. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these conservatives out there that send me these messages have no balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't DM me like I did something for you as you cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which she's doing to me right now.
Yeah, that was
I'm done with these people.
All right, so there's a lot. So that was one of that was. I mean, it was he does a long show, but that was basically the majority of what we were talking. And look, it's an interesting thing to me. A couple things. First of all, he's very angry at Candace Owens, calling her a degenerative C word, an evil person. She's a really bad person. Then he talks about, her putting him on her thumbnail, which is, I guess that's like one of the new things. There he is on Candace Owens' thumbnail. Who stood to benefit from Charlie Kirk's assassination was the episode. 1.2 million views streamed 18 hours ago. And it looks like Kash Patel is on there. Tim Pool is on there. Somebody else, the no-name person. And Tim Pool very upset about all of this, as you can tell, as you would. I mean, I would be too. But that's the new thing. I've never ever heard that, and that's the kind of world we live in. She'll put you on her thumbnail. That's the threat now. That's the threat. Donald Trump has Truth Social, and yesterday Marjorie, and that's what it was. Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday said to what's her name, Leslie Stahl at 60 Minutes, and said, I think these Republicans, they're not scared of violence. They're scared of an angry Truth Social post from President Donald Trump. Now you've got these conservatives who are cowering because they don't want to be on Candace Owens's thumbnail. Because if Candace Owens puts you on her thumbnail, you're cooked. If you end up on Candace Owens' thumbnail, then that's basically the end for you. That's the end for you. It's like being a congressperson who ends up on Donald Trump's Truth Social post. And then he talks about all these other conservatives who have not spoken out against Candace Owens, who have not stood up to her, and they're egging him on. They're going, yay, good job, Tim. You did amazing, Tim, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, F you too, because I'm the only one doing it. And I don't need your DMs. I don't need your support. I don't need your encouragement. I need you to step up, and I need you to call out Candace Owens for what she is. Now, again, I don't listen to Candace Owens. I don't have time to listen to Candace Owens. I don't really listen to Tim Pool anymore either, but I do feel bad for what's been happening with him. As I said, I met Tim Pool the very first time we were in Wisconsin at the, it was the Republican National Convention, and it was the last night. Everything here was done, or everything at the convention was done. And there was, I was flying out the next morning, but there was nothing going on. So luckily, wouldn't you know it, there's a casino in Milwaukee. And I thought to myself, I'll go play some poker. And I went to the casino and I sat down at a table, and at the table next to me, I noticed this guy with a little black beanie and a beard. And I go, oh my gosh, I think that's Tim Pool. And I was playing poker and I was doing okay. And I watched him, and he was yelling at other people, and people were yelling at him. And then somebody mentioned YouTube, whatever. So then I knew it was him. And I went up afterward. I said, hey, I didn't mean to bother you. I didn't want to, because it's very important when you're playing poker. People have table image. It's an important thing. And you don't know what someone's table image is. So you never want to go up to somebody and ruin their table image. And I didn't know if he was playing tough guy. I didn't know if he was playing celebrity. I didn't know if he was trying to, keep out of the spotlight. So I didn't want to out him. So I kind of went up to him quickly. I was like, hey, are you Tim? But he was like, yeah, no problem. Very nice guy. And I said, I want, we exchanged numbers. And I said, I would love to, if I'm ever in West Virginia or DC, come see your place. And he said, sure enough. And I did. The next time I was in DC, I took a car out and I went to his place. And as I said, I went there it wasn't late at night, but it was, he tapes at 8, I think. So I got there at like 7. It was dark and it was windy roads. It was a very small town. It was over an hour outside of DC. And I pull up to, I didn't even know what it was. It looked like a farm at first, but there's a large security gate and signs, keep out, no trespassing, go away. It looks like Area 51 or something like that. And I hit the little doorbell and they said, who is this? And I said, hi, this is me. And they were like, all right, no problem. So they opened the gate and, I came in and I went, and they have all these big barns and all these big warehouses that they've constructed from, their money that they get from YouTube and whatever else. He's got an indoor skate park because he likes to skate. He had a brand new cyber truck, just stuff, everything you could possibly imagine. It was all everywhere. And I went upstairs. He had a state-of-the-art studio, and that's where I met Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza was his guest, and we got to talking, and we were talking about his new works, and we were talking about his Brandon Gill, his son-in-law, wasn't a congressperson yet. He just, I think he may have just won the primary or was running in the primary. Who knows? But we got to talking, and I said, I'll have you on my show, and then I stayed, watched the show for a little bit, and then I had to peace out. But ever since that moment, as when I've been able to listen to Tim Pool, he's said some things that show there is a growing, I guess you would say, anxiousness among him and the people that work with him, and a growing, almost like he's fed up with the whole gosh darn system. He's fed up with conservatives. He's fed up with MAGA. He's fed up with his job. He's fed up with the security. He's really fed up with Candace Owens, and he's thinking about calling it quits after Christmas.
So where does it leave us? We have 2 weeks left in the year before we go on our Christmas hiatus. You know, I'm not a big fan of any kind of hiatus. I would prefer just to work. But it is taxing. It is grueling, of course. And there's a lot of infrastructure here that requires me to work all day, every day, Monday to Friday, with some extra work on the weekends, usually meetings. And I'm probably going to have a stroke.
Okay, I'm going to pause right there. I'm not, and I'd like you to know, I'm not, I mean, he's complaining about working Monday through Friday. I mean, okay, I work 7 days a week. But, you know, when you choose this kind of job, it's not just the on-air stuff. Like, people think, oh, wow, you get to go on the air, you get to go on YouTube, you get to make videos. Oh, it's fun. You get to hang out with your friends. You go to parties, you talk to the celebrities. That's nice and all that. But there is a lot of work for the 2 to 3 hours that I'm on the air every day. There's 20 hours of work that goes into it. And he has a much bigger complex. He's got a much bigger staff. He's got more channels. So there's a lot more that goes into it as well. But I mean, it is the life you choose. And media in this environment is a 24/7 gig. If you want to be in the media, if you want to be in conservative media, if you're reporting on President Donald Trump and all the craziness that happens every single day, it requires a staff, it requires input, it requires time. But what you don't want to have to do is worry about getting killed. And that's where I think he really is starting to crack.
My health's actually pretty good. My blood pressure is great. My resting heart rate is actually around 45. I exercise quite a bit. Haven't been able to skate in the past month or two, the holidays, and but we have to have these conversations, and I have been with the people, our contractors, people we work with, our vendors, partners. And one thing is clear: the violence will get worse. It is going to escalate. We cannot keep going as status quo. Something has to change. It may be that, as we described after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the threat to come and shoot up our studio and our workplace, we asked, at what point do we say we can't do this anymore? The cost of running Timcast IRL Studio and the projects around it exceeds the amount of money it brings in.
Okay, so here's the real problem. He's saying now, okay, I do Timcast IRL, I do all these shows, we have all these things, we're selling coffee, we have skateboarding videos, whatever it is. He's doing all this great stuff. He's creating all this content, and you guys love it, you guys watch. But here's the problem. The cost is now exceeding the income. And that's never good. When your costs exceed your income, you've got to figure out something else to do. That's not going to work. It's not a hobby. This is a business. And at one point, I know that his costs or his income was far exceeding his expenses. I mean, that you don't build Mr. Beast like facilities in the middle of nowhere with a full staff and a skate park if your costs are exceeding your income. You have a pretty good solid income. But nowadays what's happening is, he said the security costs are astronomical. Just to stay safe while doing your job, that is the number one expense. It's not electricity. It's not podcast gear. It's not travel. It's not, skateboard bros to run the camera. It's security. It's keeping from getting killed. And that's not what anyone should. I mean, that's not what anyone should have to do, especially if you're just doing this. And as I said before, I remember back in the day, there were some incidents with some big names. People didn't like Rush Limbaugh, and so he moved to Florida. But after he moved to Florida, I think he was fine. I don't remember him ever having any kinds of problems with anybody. I remember him golfing a lot. I know he had a private plane that he would fly around the world, and otherwise he had a pretty good life. Our good buddy Herman Cain ran for president, which caused him some grief, but mostly from the Democrats who tried to sue him. It was a lot of stuff like that. But this kind of, hey, I don't know if I can do my show anymore on YouTube because somebody's going to point a gun in the window and shoot me in the head. That's a real problem, and that's an issue. And I definitely think that that's something that we should discuss. I also if Candace Owens is exacerbating the claim, you know, it's tough because I'm a big proponent of freedom of speech. I think that you should be able to say what you want to say. And if you have an idea, you should be able to share your idea. And there are all kinds of protections we have, and there are limitations in scope of your free speech as to whether or not it harms somebody. I mean, you can still say it, but you might get sued or shut down or doxxed or whatever. But you still have the freedom to say whatever you want. You can say the dumbest thing you ever want. It's protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. But when it comes to this kind of thing, I'm not really sure, where the line is. I often get this question with Nick Fuentes. Oh, which, by the way, Nick Fuentes was on Piers Morgan's show. And it was a long interview. It was a lot of good stuff back and forth. It was actually very entertaining. And Nick Fuentes was asked by Piers Morgan flat out live on TV, "Are you gay?" And here was his answer.
Just to clear up one of the many theories about you, I've no idea what the answer is and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
Okay, so and again, now look, I'm not going to ridicule Nick Fuentes for not having sex because he's not married. And I'm a big proponent of, hey, if you want to wait till you're married, that's fantastic. In fact, that's a big movement nowadays. So I don't think Piers Morgan was right to ridicule him for never having had sex. But it was interesting to me that he brought that up on the interview, "Are you gay?" and led that down into the trail of misogyny. Anyway, it just made me laugh. And when something makes me laugh, I like to share it with you. But here's where we are. You have Nick Fuentes, who is mainstream. So mainstream now that he's on Piers Morgan. So mainstream that he's one of the top podcasters there is, even though he's been kicked off of multiple platforms. He's so it was made years ago. I think I mentioned the name Nick Fuentes once on TikTok and I got my account deleted. Nowadays, you see him on television. He's wearing a suit, for crying out loud. And a lot of the younger contingent, a lot of young males that I know, 18, 19, 20 years old, they're huge fans of Nick Fuentes. This is what we're looking at now. Nick Fuentes, Tim Pool, Candace Owens, they are all reaching and influencing the younger breed of conservatives. And for some reason, they can't seem to get it together. As one of the older breed of conservatives, like I said, I remember Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh and Herman Cain and Neil Bortz, and they were all slightly different and they didn't share 100% of the same ideas as the others. Neil Bortz was basically a raving libertarian, and Rush Limbaugh was a Ronald Reagan conservative like you wouldn't believe, and Sean Hannity was just, Sean Hannity. Herman Cain was black, and I think Herman Cain probably the most conservative of all of them. But they all had differences. They all had different ideals, but they were all able to come together. And not one of them, I don't think, ever threatened the other one with violence, called the other one the C word, or put them, use their image negatively in a thumbnail, probably because they didn't have YouTube channels. But, you get the gist. It's really kind of a dangerous, I think, journey that the young Republican Party is going on, not just because of the death and destruction and the bullets flying, but because it also damages the future of the party. And it makes it very difficult to come together when we're going to need them the most. I mean, you've got people like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and Tim Pool, and they're already dividing on post-Trumpian GOP era politics. Who's going to be the next Trump? Donald Trump says it's going to be J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. Well, not so fast. There's a lot of other folks out there who disagree with that or are trying to make their place in the world, or maybe they're just not on the inside. That's the other thing. If you're not on the inside of the White House, then you may not want J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio because they're currently insiders. And if somebody else is tight with J.D. Vance, if somebody else is tight with Marco Rubio and you're not, then you might back a new candidate and help them get elected. And when they do, oh, guess what? You're going to be in their inner circle. This is the kind of thing that happens all the time. It's the reason why Republicans can't seem to get together. And you know what? It's not just, unfortunately, it's not just Republicans outside in the media. It's also Republicans inside in Washington. And President Donald Trump was ripping Chuck Grassley and the Republicans in the Senate for being really lackadaisical, lacking backbone and chutzpah, and not pushing forward his judicial nominees. In fact, he got caught on a hot mic leaving a meeting yesterday where he was complaining about it.
Hey, Jeff, do you agree with me on blue stuff? You know I cannot appoint anybody. Huh? I can't appoint anybody.
They're unplugged.
Everybody I've appointed, their time is expired. And then they're in default. And then we're losing cases.
Yeah. And that was it. So Donald Trump's walking out of this meeting. He's like, look, and I think I'll be honest with you. I think Donald Trump's not stupid. Donald Trump's not stupid. He knew there were microphones, or he knew he was being extra loud, and he was, talking about stuff. And I'm sure he saw the press there. But he goes, look, they're defaulting. The time's running out on my nominees. They're defaulting. I can't get these people passed. And then we're losing. And that is exactly what President Donald Trump is saying. And that's now the narrative, because President Donald Trump was able to get that out there. Now, as some people say, and again, I think Donald Trump didn't care that the microphone was on. Some people say this was Donald Trump planting the story in the media. Donald Trump doesn't plant stories in the media with hot mic. Where have you been? If Donald Trump wants to say something to the media, he literally just says it. If Donald Trump thinks Republicans are being stupid and wasting away their time, then guess what? Yes, that's exactly what's happening. And he's going to tell the media. In fact, he did just moments before this hot mic.
As U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey after the courts disqualified her. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, she's not disqualified. You've got a blue slip thing that's horrible. It's a horrible thing. It makes it impossible to appoint a judge or a U.S. attorney, and it's a shame. And the Republicans should be ashamed of themselves that they allow this to go on, because I can't appoint a U.S. attorney that's not a Democrat, because they put a block on it. So if you appoint in Virginia or in New Jersey or in California a U.S. attorney or a judge, I mean, a judge situation is ridiculous. The only people that you can get by are Democrats, because they will put a hold on it. If I put up George Washington and Abraham Lincoln to be U.S. attorney in New Jersey, or to be U.S. attorney in Virginia, we have Democrat senators, they will not approve them. And this is a gentleman's agreement that's lasted for too long, and it doesn't make it, especially in light of what's going on today. It means you can't appoint a Republican U.S. attorney, and we don't play the same game with them, but they do. And I hope that somebody speaks to Senator Grassley about doing something about the blue slip, because I'm telling you, John, I put up great people, top people, highest education, the best lawyers to be like U.S. attorney, and both senators, it only takes one. But if they're Democrat senators, they say, we're not going to approve it. I had a couple of them say, why don't you appoint Democrats? All because Senator Grassley, with his blue slip stuff, will not let anybody go by. By the way, the Democrats have violated the blue slip provision on numerous occasions, but we don't do it. And what it means is, I guess I just have to keep appointing people for 3 months and then just appoint another one. And it's a very sad situation. We're losing a lot of great people. We have about 7 U.S. attorneys who are not going to be able to keep their jobs much longer because of the blue slip. Because unless I think I know why they did that, to protect their ass. Okay, that's why they did that. But it should be done away with. I want to be able to appoint the most highly educated, the most respected people. They can't keep their jobs because of the blue slips.
Yeah, the blue slip, by the way, what happens is when you have a judicial nominee from a particular state, the senators from that state can agree or disagree with their nomination. And it's basically a little blue slip of paper that they slip to Grassley, to Chuck Grassley. And it says yes or no. And those blue slips are, I mean, it's like a legislative procedure. I don't even think it's an official rule. I think it's just traditional. And the problem is, I'm not a big fan of tradition. I'm not like, okay, Christmas traditions, holiday traditions, whatever, that's fine. But I'm not a big fan of like Senate tradition, or unless there's some real reason for it, or unless it's in the Constitution, or unless it's a long-standing law that has backing. I hate it. I'm like, the traditions are a dumb way to do business, especially when you have something important on the line like judicial nominations. But these traditions, and I mean, the filibuster again, too, the filibuster is not in the Constitution. The filibuster is a rule that's been put into place and has been changed and altered all through the course of history, but it's nothing that is constitutional or written in by our founding fathers. So if we got rid of it, I, for one, would be perfectly fine with that. Donald Trump thinks we should. And as anyone who's been paying attention for the last 7 years will tell you, the Democrats 100% will. They will 100% get rid of the filibuster. The minute they can, the first second they get back into power, that filibuster is gonzo. And that is something that, for whatever reason, the Republicans in the Senate, they're burying their heads in the sand. They're ignoring it. They're saying, no, that's not gonna happen, or at least we can't risk it happening. Well, you can't risk it not happening either. But again, they want their power, and this is a way of keeping power. Donald Trump does not have all the power. He's not a king. The Republicans in Congress still do, and they want to remind President Donald Trump of that. And Chuck Grassley is one of them. Apparently, Donald Trump not at all happy. Now, one of the other things that Donald Trump did is he did an interview. Where is it? He did an interview with hang on, I got it right here. Donald Trump did an interview with Politico. And it was like an hour-long interview. And it was crazy. He sat down with this woman who's not a fan of President Donald Trump, and we know Politico's not a fan of President Donald Trump, and they've always negatively reported on his stuff. But he basically, I mean, he's been destroying a lot of reporters. Oh, there was this one reporter yesterday who tried to pin the Republican resignations or the Republican retirements in Congress on President Donald Trump. She had a question, man. She was all excited. This woman from New York Newsday, she rolls into the Oval Office. She gets her chance to ask President Donald Trump a question. And the question she asks him is a setup to try to pin Republicans retiring from Congress on President Donald Trump's first term in office. And President Donald Trump is like, hold on, you're totally unprepared for me.
And I just have a quick question. There's at least 20 House Republicans who have either said they're going to retire or not run again. Do you have any
Democrats
concerns
also.
about
And Democrats.
Right.
Also.
Do you have any?
Well, why don't you mention them? How many Democrats are going to retire? How many Democrats?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
But why don't you tell me the number of Democrats too? Tell me about.
Are you concerned about the narrow margins? And
no, I'm not concerned. I think we're going to do well.
Among them, and
we will have the greatest economy.
Blakeman, who you know as well, is considering running for governor.
We're going to have the greatest economy in history. How many Democrats are retiring? How come you only know the Republicans but not the Democrats?
Because I came prepared to ask you a question about.
No, you're unprepared because you should know the Democrats. You're totally unprepared. Go ahead.
Well, can I ask a quick follow-up about?
Who are you with?
I'm with New York Newsday, and I also have a quick follow-up. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is among those who is running for New York governor.
She's great.
Bruce Blakeman, who you also know,
he's also great.
Are you planning on making any endorsements?
Well, I'll think about it, but he's great and she's great. They're both great people. We have a lot of great people in the Republican Party. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so President Donald Trump's like, look, you need to ask better questions. You need to be prepared. You need to ask me about the Democrats. Do you even know how many Democrats there are that are retiring? And the answer is no, she has no idea because she doesn't care, because this was not a question by a journalist who's been covering a story and wants to cover both sides of the story. This is a question by a major media propagandist who's trying to fabricate a story, who's trying to get President Donald Trump to say something to add fuel to the fire that she's trying to build. It's not an actual fire. Republicans retire from Congress every single, I mean, there's over 200 of them. Many of them are old. Some of them are going to call it quits. Some of them are going to get jobs in the private sector. Some of them are like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are just going to get really upset and leave. There's some of them are going to run for higher office. I mean, that's what Jasmine Crockett's doing. Oh my God, don't let me stop the show today before I show you Jasmine Crockett's ridiculous ad for Senate. It's amazingly preposterous. Where was I? Oh yeah. But that's the fact of the matter. They're trying to build a fire, and they're trying to throw fuel on it, and there's no fire. There's no smoke, there's no fire, there's no heat, there's nothing. Republicans are leaving, as they always do. We will elect more Republicans, and Donald Trump is not at all concerned. That was the first reporter he lay into. The second one was this reporter from Politico.
Can you rule out an American ground invasion?
I don't want to rule in or out. I don't talk about it. Why would I talk to you, an extremely unfriendly publication, if you want to call it Politico, that got $8 million from Obama to keep it afloat? Why would I do that? Why would I talk about that to Politico? I mean, I'm doing this because you picked me as a man for Europe.
I'm asking for transparency for their American people, because a lot of folks are, people are wondering what is...
I am the most transparent politician maybe in the world.
A lot of folks are wondering what our goals are in
Venezuela. But I don't want to talk to you about military strategy.
I mean, that's like that question keeps coming up, and I guess people don't realize maybe under Joe Biden would talk openly about military strategy. Joe Biden would tell everybody, here's what we're going to do, here's when we're going to do it. Joe Biden handed a list of the 16 most, I guess you would say the most important targets in the United States of America. He handed that list to Vladimir Putin and said, do not strike these targets. It was the weirdest thing ever. Joe Biden said, these are the most sensitive American targets. If anything happens to these, you'll do the most damage. You are forbidden to attack these. And he handed it right to Vladimir Putin. And I thought to myself, that's really stupid. Vladimir Putin probably already knew, but why reiterate? Why back up whatever he was already thinking with actual factual data handed to you by the president of the United States? That's the kind of thing that Joe Biden did. Donald Trump's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not discussing any and all military protocol with you. I'm not doing any of that. And I'm not going to answer that particular question. Now, some of the other questions, of course, were about political violence and creating political violence and weaponizing the government, to which Donald Trump said, look, nobody has been a victim of weaponized government more so than yours truly.
I'm one of the people that survived, but they weaponized the government. We had the most weaponized government. Our election was rigged. They went after me. I was impeached twice. I was indicted. They indicted me. I came out good. Here we are in the White House. Things are looking nice, but they were vicious, and they are vicious. They're sick people.
Yeah, they're vicious. They're sick people. The Democrats, they will stop at nothing. They don't care about anybody, anything. They don't care about tradition. They don't care about law and order. We know that they don't care about law and order because they've been breaking the law. We know they don't care about law and order because they are hell-bent on saving drug dealers. They're still mad about these boats. Politico is mad about these boats and these narco-terrorists that are getting blown out of the water. And Donald Trump's like, why are you mad about the criminals and not the victims?
Have you watched the video?
We're stopping. I watched everything, yeah. I watch everything. I see a lot of things.
And do you believe that second strike was necessary?
Well, it looked like they were trying to turn back over the boat, but I don't get involved in that. That's up to them. The admiral that did that is a highly respected, as you know, a highly respected man. And we save 25,000 people every time we knock out a boat. On average, they kill 25,000 Americans. So, I don't like doing that, but the drugs coming in through the sea are down by 92%. And I'm trying to figure out the 8%. Who are they? Nobody wants to drive boats to America loaded up with drugs anymore.
Well, I do want to ask,
and we're going to hit them on land very soon, too.
Yeah, she's definitely not getting the answers that she thought she would. She's definitely not rattling President Donald Trump. Donald Trump's like, look, I don't like to do it, but 25,000 Americans die. We're trying to get to a point where nobody wants to drive the boats. We're trying to get to a point where somebody says to the cartel, you're going to have to kill me because if I get in that boat, I'm going to die anyway. We're going to have to get to the point where they're looking for boat operators to take the drugs in the United States of America, and they're not going to find any volunteers. And then when they go back to moving the drugs on land, guess what? Donald Trump says we will take them out on land too. We'll do whatever we need to because it is my job as the commander in chief to protect American people, to save American lives. And that's what I'm doing. That's what the people hired me for. That's what they elected me for. They didn't elect me to be soft on drugs, to be soft on crime. They wanted a strong, secure border. They wanted us to shut down crime in their streets. They want to be safe in this country. They want a strong military, and that's what I'm giving them. And you guys keep looking at you keep looking at the wrong people. You are worried about the criminals, and you're not worried about the victims. And the victims are the men and women in the United States of America. And the victims could be you. The victims could be you. The Democrats continue to lie about all kinds of things. They lie about this affordability crisis too. Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, she was on, I think it was Fox News, saying, look, this is all just a con job.
Well, the Democrats are the greatest con artists in American politics. They are pretending to champion the issue of affordability when they themselves created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. You can't create a problem and then turn around and say, I'm the best person to fix it. No, that's why President Trump was reelected to fix it, and that's exactly what he's doing. So as President Trump has been screaming from the rooftops, Republicans need to remain tough and smart, and they need to be more vocal about touting the accomplishments of this administration. Again, inflation has slowed because of President Trump's economic policies. We see wages for the first time in 5 years are increasing by about $1,000 per the average American worker. We know wages were declining under this president. And as you mentioned, Ainsley, next spring, these tax rebates, that's real money back into the pockets of the American people for workers who work overtime, for those who collect tips, for those who are on Social Security. They are going to see that money back in their pocketbooks. And every single Democrat on Capitol Hill voted against these historic tax cuts. So you can't say you're for the working man and woman when you vote to raise their taxes. The Republicans and President Trump have a proven economic formula and agenda that's working. Right. It's focused on bigger paychecks and lower prices, and that's what President Trump will talk about tonight.
Yeah, and it's not just Democrats that are con artists, and that's really what it is. To be an effective president, to be a good politician, what you really need to do is be able to look at the con artists and then call them out. And that's the problem. I think a lot of ineffective politicians, the first problem is they don't know who's trying to like take them for a ride. They don't know who's fleecing them for what. They can't figure out. They just trust too many people. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust any Republicans, Democrats, independents. I don't trust a single solitary person because I know everybody has their own agenda. So that's the first step. Second step is, after you've begun not trusting anybody, what you've got to do is you've got to look around and you've got to say, okay, here's the deal. If everybody is conning me, then I've got to call them out and I've got to make sure everybody knows it. And that's the second problem with Republicans. A lot of Republicans still play the game. They still play the game where they believe that, they believe that calling somebody out or burning a bridge or being honest with the media is a bad thing because they're still playing by the deep state rules. They're afraid they're not going to get their committee assignments. They're afraid they're not going to get money for their reelection campaign. They're afraid of this, that, and the other. It's the whole thing Tim Burchett was talking about when he said, look, I want to be the chairman of the Doge Committee, but guess who's not going to be the chairman of the Doge Committee? This guy right here. Why? I don't kiss butt and I don't raise money. And if you don't kiss butt and you don't raise money, you don't get the help of the Republican establishment. And that's the exact same thing that happens with everybody else. If you're a con artist, or if you see a con artist and you don't call them out, then that means you're playing the game. President Donald Trump is calling out Vladimir Zelensky again as being a con artist.
He's a great salesman. I call him P.T. Barnum. You know who P.T. Barnum was, right?
I do.
One of the greatest on earth. He could sell any product at any time. That was his expression. I can sell any product at any time. It was true. He said, doesn't matter whether it works or not. But he's P.T. Barnum. You know, he got crooked Joe Biden to give him $350 billion. And look what it got. It got him about 25% of his country is missing.
That is, again, President Donald Trump dropping bombs, no pun intended, dropping mics on this interview and letting this interviewer from Politico know, look, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in this world, and we're the solution. We're not the problem. That's the one thing that Donald Trump consistently points out to people. We are the solution, not the problem. Joe Biden, he was the problem. Democrats, they were the problem. The corrupt Washington establishment, the swamp, problem. The media, huge problem. We're not the problem. We're the solution. Now, there were a lot of problems that we're trying to solve now, so it's going to take a little while, but we're working on it.
It's interesting. 2 years ago, a year ago, under Biden, this country was out of control. Millions of people pouring through, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. And now we have nobody coming in. We have them coming in only legally. They have to go through a legal process. Nobody ever talks about that anymore. They should talk about that.
Yeah, they should definitely talk about that. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the border and how secure it is. Nobody talks about how we don't have these people coming in illegal anymore. Nobody talks about any of that stuff. You know what they talk about? They talk about boats getting blown up in the middle of nowhere, full of drugs. They talk about ICE detaining refugees. They talk about ICE arresting criminal aliens, many of whom are gang members and drug runners and human traffickers and have committed all kinds of other crimes. They're members of MS-13 and all these other gangs. That's what they talk about. They talk about how ICE is bad and the criminal aliens that they're deporting are good. In fact, Zoran Mamdani is now posting videos online, get this, urging illegal immigrants to evade ICE and giving them tips on how to do it.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this.
He's showing, by the way, an actual judicial order.
Have a judicial warrant signed by a judge. You have the right to say, I do not consent to entry, and the right to keep your door closed. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go? Repeatedly until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation, resist arrest, or run. One last thing. New Yorkers have a constitutional right to protest, and when I'm mayor, we will protect that right. New York will always welcome immigrants, and I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate our immigrant brothers and sisters.
So there you have the mayor. This is really interesting.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid.
This is the mayor-elect, the brand new mayor of New York City, and he is urging illegal aliens to hide from ICE, to deny ICE entry, and he's teaching them how to evade ICE. He's saying, you have the right to do this, you have the right to do that. And that's all true. You do have the right to film ICE. You do have the right to deny them entry unless they have a warrant signed by a judge. You do have the right to say, I'm not going to answer any questions. You do have the right to ask if you're free to go. And ICE does not have the right to detain you without any kind of legal jurisdiction or probable cause to do so. All of that is true. But the mayor creating a video in multiple languages, because there were subtitles in Spanish, urging illegal immigrants to evade law enforcement is unconscionable. Why? Well, because the mayor of a city is the chief law enforcement official in that city. Just like President Donald Trump is the chief law enforcement official in the United States of America, and he's in charge of the military, and he's in charge of the FBI, and he's in charge of the DOJ, and he's in charge of all those things. Just like that, the mayor is in charge of the police force and all the other local task forces, and all of their brother and sister organizations or contributing organizations like ICE, federal and state law enforcement that happens to come into the city. They're in charge of all of that. And the mayor siding with criminals over the law enforcement, that's going to cause a real problem. I mean, that's a huge problem. That's a real, I don't think he realizes yet that he's no longer on the side of the criminal aliens. I think he needs to realize that he's now on the side of the law-abiding citizens and that he's in charge of the New York City Police Department. And being in charge of the New York City Police Department is going to it's going to be a real problem for that city. He's going to have a real dilemma. And now that you see this community organizer type who used to fight on the streets to defund the police and disrespect the police and dismantle the police, who thought the police were bad and evil and fascist and violent and racist and all these other things, now this guy being in charge, holy cow. That is going to be a huge problem. He is going to have a huge moral dilemma. Do I continue to protect the illegal immigrants? Do I continue to protect the criminal element, or do I do what I should do as the mayor of this city and protect and help law enforcement? I mean, could you imagine if your boss was impeding you from doing your actual job? That would be the most frustrating thing in the entire world. I don't know how anyone would handle it. That's just crazy, but that's exactly what's happening. And that is why Zoran Mamdani in charge of New York City is going to be a huge problem. Not for ICE. I feel like Tom Homan will be fine, but for the men and women of the New York City Police Department who will be told to stand down, who will be urged to not intervene, who will be, who knows, sent home. We don't know what's going to happen, but if this video is any sense of what's going to what's beginning next year, Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, is not on the side of the law-abiding citizens of New York or the police department. He's on the side of those people who evade the law, and he is helping them do it. It's the wildest thing ever. Wildest thing ever. You know what else is wild? RFK Jr. for some reason started doing pull-ups at the airport. There he is. There's RFK Jr. He's in pretty good shape. 70, what is he, 4, 75, something like that. He's doing 20 there's a pull-up bar at DCA. That's Ronald Reagan Airport. I don't know why there's a pull-up bar there, but he just cranks out. Listen, he's at like 10. He does 20, I think. 13, 14, 15. He just keeps going. He's not even sweating. Well, he might be sweating a little bit. I don't know. What is that? Is that 20? Was that 19? Is there one more? One more. Oh, all right, we'll call that 20. Look at that. For whatever reason, RFK Jr. And there's Sean Duffy. And look, Sean Duffy's going to be thrilled because not only is RFK Jr. doing pull-ups at the airport, but he's also dressed appropriately for air travel in a suit. He's got to tuck his shirt back in because that is. But look, I mean, this is the administration we have now. The Health and Human Services Director can do 20 pull-ups at any time, at any place, anywhere. The Transportation Secretary is there in a suit, in a tie, making sure the travelers are well dressed and respect each other while they are traveling. So it's really, I mean, it's really truly an upgrade. And I, for one, am all for it. All right, listen, I told you don't let me leave without talking about Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate in Texas. Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate in Texas. Now, why would Jasmine Crockett run for Senate in Texas? Well, number one, her district is about to get dismantled by Texas redistricting. Number two is I think she feels like she's bigger than just, where's it, Dallas? Her little area in Dallas that she represents. And I feel like she thinks if I'm really going to be a superstar, if I'm really going to make a mockery of American politics and use it to benefit myself and better myself, then I need to get to the next branch, which is the Senate. And also it's a 6-year term. So, you have to run for office 3 times less than you do as a congressperson. CNN wrote, U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett filed Monday to run for U.S. Senate from Texas in 2026, leaning into the criticisms of President Donald Trump that have built her national profile while also worrying Democrats hoping for a long shot upset. Trump, I know you're watching, so let me tell you directly, Crockett said Monday night at her announcement event in Dallas, you're not entitled to a damn thing in Texas. You better get to work because I'm coming for you. I'm going to play you that video in just a minute. But first, I want to play you probably one of the weirdest, I guess this is her first campaign video. This is the weirdest campaign video I've ever seen in my entire life. It's for Jasmine Crockett for Senate. And I will say this, I will say this. It's also one of the most honest videos I've ever seen.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man. She's a very low IQ person. Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding. Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, I don't know. It's like she made her own attack ad. That's the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, why? How do you make your own attack ad like that? That is the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Jasmine Crockett decided to announce that she's running for president by basically, or running for Senate, pardon me, by basically playing over and over again the clips of President Donald Trump calling her low IQ, basically calling her unintelligent and stupid. And she thinks that is what's going to win her the election. That's how she launched. There's something, this is also coming up. This is Jasmine Crockett on CNN, and she's trying to, they're asking how she's going to convert Trump voters because, you know, Texas is very red. Texas is Trump country. Texas voted for President Donald Trump every time he was on the ballot, and they have 2 Republican kind of senators. So they're wondering, how are you going to flip Texas blue? Here's what she said.
That you will fight for them. That you will fight for them. How will you make voters who previously voted for Trump, particularly given that you have been an outspoken critic and he has inserted himself, just take your campaign video as is. He has inserted himself at every turn when it comes to your commentary. How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump's supporters. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to. Our goal is to make sure that we can engage people that historically have not been talked to, because there's so many people that.
Wait a minute. She doesn't need to? Well, I'm sorry. Last time I checked, Texas was like plus 14 Republican. You don't need to convert voters to win? How is it that you don't need to convert voters to win? How are you going to become the senator from Texas unless you convert Republicans to Democrats? How are you going to become the next senator from Texas if you don't get Donald Trump voters to vote for you? There's not enough Democrats in Texas to push you over the edge. And I don't even think there's enough Democrats in Texas to vote for you, because I don't think every Democrat supports Jasmine Crockett, whatever. Okay, Crockett. You know, Freudian slip. I don't think there's enough Democrats in Texas to support Jasmine Crockett. It is really going to be an interesting. Now, someone would say, maybe Jasmine Crockett knows that she's going to lose. Maybe Jasmine Crockett is doing this to give herself a platform to, I don't know, promote herself, to make herself a bigger name. But it doesn't seem like she's doing something that actually she has a chance to do. She would have maybe had a chance to stay in the Congress. Maybe she would have had a chance to stay in Congress, and maybe she could have continued to push. But now that she's moving for the Senate, it appears that she is fighting an uphill losing battle. Why would you do that? Unless you know that you're going to get a lot more notoriety.
Right now, many people wonder why I jumped in this race so late, and I just want to be clear that this was never my intention. This was never about me. I never put myself into any of the polls.
She's crying now. She's getting all
Listen.
verklempt.
My question was, which congressional seat would I be running for? And for Texas 30, I love you, Texas 30. Okay, I'm gonna finish. But the more I saw the poll results, I couldn't ignore the trends, which were clear, both as it relates to the primary as well as the general election. I could have played it safe and continued serving in the United States House of Representatives for as long as my constituents would have me. But I don't choose to do that. Because Texas, this moment we're in now, is life or death.
Okay.
Right now.
So that's her, playing up to the cameras. So she's abandoning Texas 30 and she's going to go run for Senate because it's life or death, whatever that means. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little uncomfortable with how much I'm going to have to see Jasmine Crockett over the next year, but I am very excited that after she loses the Senate race, we won't have to see her for a very, 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 very long time. That is, of course, until she gets that coveted 6th seat on The View. I'm sure one of those ladies is going to retire. Maybe Joy Behar will walk out and they'll make a seat for Jazz. Something's going to happen. She's not going to end up in the Senate, but she will end up on television. Something's going to happen. She'll have her own podcast before too long. It's inevitable. Pardon me. A couple things before I wrap up. Number one, I wanted to say that Melania Trump is amazing because she went to hand out toys with the Marines for Toys for Tots, and she spoke, which is my favorite thing in the world.
Today, we are here for one of the most beloved traditions of the holiday season, Toys for Tots.
It is. It's one of my favorites. The beloved tradition of the holiday season, Toys for Tots. And it really is. And one of the other traditions that we have this holiday season is K's Kids. And K's Kids is our special times program with Dreams Come True. And we've been doing it for years. And if you don't follow K's Kids on Facebook, you should. We kicked off our 12 Days of Christmas yesterday. Now, a couple things that are different. We used to air the videos during the show, but we've had to keep our charitable organization. We are of course, a special times program of Dreams Come True of Jacksonville, and they're amazing. But we've had to keep the campaign and the charity kind of separate for various different reasons. So you can see our very first K's kid, 11-year-old Parker. We posted this yesterday. He has T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and he just got diagnosed, but you wouldn't know it. This kid is such a pleasure. This kid is so great. And if you go to K's Kids, you can hear the story, you can see the photos, you can see what we got him as a gift, and you can truly be inspired. Now we have 12 kids that we were working with, but unfortunately, and this always happens, when we were recording these videos and doing the giveaways, 2 of them were in the hospital and they weren't able to make it. That happens. It happens every year, unfortunately. Not every year, but a lot of the years, what happens is we line them up and we have them come in, but then, last minute there's an emergency, last minute they have to go to the hospital, they're not feeling well, they need treatment, and that's the most important priority. So we give them their gifts off camera, but we have 10 new videos that we're posting for the next 2 weeks. So go to our Facebook page, follow K's Kids, and make sure that you're seeing these videos because they're really incredible. It's my favorite time of year, and I love seeing the reactions on these kids' faces as well. And just know that your donations, everything you've done, coming to the poker tournament, supporting K's Kids, everything that you do is the reason why we're able to do this year in and year out, and why we'll continue to do it year in and year out. And I'm very thankful for all of you for making that happen. K's Kids, Kayes Kids on Facebook.com. You know where Facebook is. Just search K's Kids. And I post these on my page as well, too. So if you're watching on Facebook, you can watch them there. But it really is so much fun. And it's going to put you if you're not in the holiday spirit, go watch these videos and you will get in the holiday spirit super quick. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to whatever channel you're watching, whether it's YouTube or Rumble. If you're on Facebook, maybe you're listening to one of the, Spotify or our Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, make sure you subscribe. Tell this platform you want more of this content all the freaking time. Like, never stop. Never stop bringing me this content because it's so good. We're going to keep it just like Tim Pool. We're going to work Monday through Friday and actually Saturday and Sunday too. We're going to bring you everything you need to know to stay informed, to stay ahead of the truth, to know who's attacking you, to know what they're saying about you, and to know how and when and where and why you and I and all the Catriots all over the globe must continue to fight so we can save the Republic.